Welcome back to another edition of Veterans Forum. My name is Rebecca Jennings, the North Attleborough Veterans Agent. And today we have two guest speakers from the Veterans Transitional House, and I'd like to welcome them. My first speaker is Shelia Sullivan, and Joespeh Jennings, who is an outreach specialist. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and the things that you might do that you do at your organization?
I'm the case manager, the person who coordinates the care for the person and the develop the plan, housing plan for them once Joe has done the intake. And then then I go out and work with the veteran to discover what they would like to do, what are some of the steps that they need to take to get there, to balance their income, to stabilize themselves in their housing so that they don't lose it again.
Okay. And can you tell the folks at home a little bit about the Veterans Transition House and what you guys do there and how you guys started?
Okay. The Veterans Transition House is exactly that. It's a transition house. There's not too many of the transitional programs left. It's not a shelter. It is a place where someone would come after possibly being in a detox or in a facility of some kind, or experiencing addiction problems, and then they go. And this is supported living, I guess is the best way to describe it. You would come in and get a case manager, and the case manager will begin to work with you to set up community supports. For example, if you have a lot of medical issues, they would see to it that you go to the VA clinic and get assistance from the VA clinic. You might, at somewhere along the line, sign up for VASH. You definitely will have to go to meetings, to AA, NA meetings, in order to be out in the community and learn what it's like to be part of that group. We want people to be always sort of going from the transition house out into the community, because that's what they're going to be doing as they transition to residential programs, to residents of their own.
So these are the types of programs they could certainly come and get access to.
Oh, yes.
Now, I saw on your website you guys have the transportation to medical facilities.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Folks who live there they receive transportation for all of their important appointments or whatever. We take them to all of the VA hospitals. We go to Boston, Brockton, and Providence, and take them there. We will occasionally take a veteran if they need a ride to one of those things. If they want to hop on, when we're going, that kind of thing. We do help out veterans in the community if they need it. But we have 4 vans.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And they're going all the time to different things, mostly for the men who live in the house.
Okay.
But if you live in the house, or in any of the graduate programs, we have a grant per diem program as well. The 3 main programs is the transition house, the grant per diem program, which is it's a place to stay and regroup. Is really what the idea is. It's an excellent program. If you're in between housing or whatever, you need to go there and save your money, maybe get a job, or something's happened that would put you into that situation. We also take men from the transitional program, but not necessarily everybody goes to that program. And then there's the SSVF.
Okay. Our next guest is Joeseph. Joeseph, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and what you do at the organization?
Well, I'm also I'm the outreach specialist, so my job is to go around and meet with the VSOs Any provider that may have some kind of contact with a veteran that might need our assistance with housing. I'm also a veteran. I was in for 6 years, U.S. Army, Iraq 2003, and then Afghanistan 2005. And, sorry, a little dry. But no, so when the veteran comes and sees me, I'm the first stop they have to go through. I do the intake. So I decide whether they qualify for the program or not. I'll go over their financials, their housing status, whether they have the proper paperwork. So they must have all the paperwork first to go through me. And then once that's processed, I send it to Boston, gets approved, and that's sent to Shelia.
Oh, okay. The other thing I read on the website is you guys host special events. Can you tell us a little bit about those special events and the purpose of them?
Some of those special events that we do are actually we combine with other organizations, like they'll have motorcycle rides for veterans or the car shows that are in New Bedford. Mm-hmm. Part of that hosting, we join up with them, and those donations that go through there go back into the Veteran Transition House.
That's wonderful.
And we'll post flyers everywhere. We have our guys will help out with it. Usually the guys living in the house that aren't working will volunteer and help out, clean up, set up, and all the rest of the stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we also do, there's a farm, and they assist in the farm. Every year they go out and pick vegetables when it's time for the harvest. And then they have another program in New Bedford for cleaning. There's a certain area that we get assigned, and we take part in those activities too. Any veteran who wants to sign up for any of those things is welcome to come. We're always glad to have them come on board for any of this kind of special events that we sponsor.
What other organizations do you work with? You did mention that you work with agents such as myself within the town. And what relationship do you have with them?
We try to work with all agencies that are providers for any kind of help. Say like CCBC, which is Community Counseling Bristol County. They do a lot of different programs, and they just finished up with one of their programs with the vouchers, housing vouchers for veterans. They had about 17 or 18 of them, and we gave them about 11 clients from us, working closely. So they come through me, and I saw that they're single vets. That's why you had to be single and homeless as a veteran, and I'd send them the paperwork that way. Then they get the housing voucher and get the all-around counseling. We also meet with other organizations once. Actually, for me, it's about 3 times a month with the continuum care meetings. You'll have one in Attleborough. There's one in Taunton for Greater Attleborough area, one in Fall River, and one in New Bedford. We meet with all the different service providers in the area, say the shelters to people that help out food stamps and organizations like our own. And usually it's trying to work together to try to help out with the homeless all together. And then we have a separate meeting once a month, which is the veterans meeting. It's for the entire county. So organizations from the VA to Catholic Social Services, CCBC, and ourselves and Vets Inc. all meet together and go over the homeless vets within Bristol County. And we actually have releases the veterans will sign so we can talk about the names and make sure they're getting the services they can, all-around services, not just from us, but from other organizations.
So that's a great way to build a partner with these other agencies. Now, how does a veteran qualify for the services that you offer?
Well, one way to qualify is for one thing is to be homeless. But the biggest thing is to make sure their financials. You could be homeless and still be over-financed. So, and it goes by the HUD income limit, which usually we're half of what the 50% half of the median income. So if the median income is, say, for the area 70,000, just split that in half. But HUD actually has a site that we go by for the family size, because every town's different. Like if you go to New Bedford, it's for a single person, you couldn't make more than $20,000 a year. So if you're making $25,000 a year, you're homeless. Our hands are tied behind our back because the guidelines say we can only help you with this, but doesn't mean I'm not going to try to help you get into other services. Because sometimes these guys have addiction problems, and I'll try to get them to do the paperwork to get them to the transition house.
Okay.
I'd like to get them onto their feet, and then when they finish from there, we could house them afterwards.
Okay. Now, if they wanted to learn a little bit more, the folks at home wanted to learn a little bit about your organization in addition to what you guys told us today, they could log on to vetshousing.org.
That's house.
It's veterans housing, transitional housing, excuse me.
veteranstransitionalhouse.org.
.org. Thank
Right.
you. Well, I want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
It's wonderful to have organizations such as yourself doing all these great work and helping our homeless veterans finding resources. When we come back, we're going to have Massachusetts Compulsive Gambling come on and tell us a little bit about their organization and the great things that they're able to assist veterans who are facing gambling issues.
What do North Attleborough residents think of international, national, state, and town issues? Join Peter Gay for Up for Discussion, featuring members of local media, town officials, and people like you. Based on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher and Hannity on the Fox News Network, Up for Discussion tackles the topics making headlines. Up for Discussion every month on North TV's community and government channels, Comcast channels 15 and 98, and Verizon channels 23 and 24.
North Attleborough This Week on North TV is your town's weekly television news program. Interviews with government and education leaders, conversations with police and fire officials about current events that affect your safety, and a multitude of town-wide happenings that you won't see on the bigger news stations. New editions premiere every Friday at 9 p.m. and are played throughout the weekend. North Attleborough This Week, only on North TV's Community Channel, Comcast Channel 15, and Verizon Channel 24. North TV, bringing the community into your home.
A promise was made. A promise that hit the beaches of Normandy. A covenant that split the skies over Berlin. A vow that captured Iwo Jima. A promise was made. A solemn oath that liberated Seoul. A sacred trust that defended Khe Sanh. A pact that dug in Da Nang. A contract that weathered Tet. A promise was made. A pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq. A bond that patrolled door to door in Fallujah. An IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. A promise we all must keep. DAV fights for all veterans and their families so they get the health care, financial benefits, and support they earned. If you're a veteran who needs help or you'd like to help us keep the promise, visit DAV.org.
There's a lot going on in North Attleborough besides politics and sports. North TV specials give you a front row seat to some of the most informative and entertaining events that you don't have time to attend in person. Presentations from Richards Memorial Library, historic society programs, town events, and much more. Tune into North TV every weekend for a new reason to watch. North TV specials, exclusively on your community channel, Comcast Channel 15 and Verizon Channel 24. North TV, bringing the community into your home.
Welcome back to Veterans Forum. My name is Rebecca Jennings, the Veterans Agent for the town of North Attleborough. We have two additional new guests to finish up the Veterans Forum show, and they're from the Massachusetts Council for Compulsive Gambling and Services. The first guest is Amanda Winters and Krystle Kelly. Welcome.
Thank you.
Amanda, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do within the organization?
Sure. Thank you for having us this morning. We're honored to be here. Again, my name is Amanda Winters, and I'm with the Massachusetts Council on Compulsive Gambling. I'm the prevention manager there, so I work to educate communities and individuals and treatment providers on ways to prevent compulsive gambling.
Awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about the organization and what exactly you do within the organization, what the organization does, and if you know someone that has a compulsive gambling habit, how can they benefit from your organization?
Sure. So at the Massachusetts Council on Compulsive Gambling, we work to reduce the impact that problem gambling has on families and communities. We want to make gambling a safe and healthy activity for all the people of Massachusetts. We're dedicated to providing education and support and advocacy within the state. We host a 24/7 helpline where people can call in if they believe that they have a problem with gambling or if they are the family member of somebody who has a problem with gambling.
That's awesome. So could you tell us some signs that a person might have a gambling problem?
Sure. So some of the first signs you would see is the need to gamble and spend more money when gambling. Somebody might lie about their gambling. If they constantly talk about their wins and not their losses, that's another sign of a problem. The inability to stop or cut back their gambling. The use of money that they intended to spend on necessities like rent and food, spending that on gambling, which leads to chasing losses, which is where you would continue to gamble even though you've lost a significant amount of money. We also think about jeopardizing significant relationships or jobs. That's another sign of compulsive gambling, and a preoccupation with gambling.
Okay. Now, what are some risk factors that might lead to someone having a gambling habit?
Sure. So we know some of the risk factors are socioeconomic status, low educational attainment. We also know that males have a higher risk of developing a compulsive gambling disorder than females do. We know that African Americans, males especially, we know that people who have a dual diagnosis, so they suffer from another mental health or substance abuse disorder, and people who use nicotine. We also know that military veterans and active duty military have a very high risk of developing a compulsive gambling disorder.
Okay. So if folks think that they might have a gambling issue, or maybe their loved one might have a gambling issue, how can they seek treatment?
Sure. So the best option to seek treatment is to call our helpline. It's operated 24/7, and we can provide a referral or options local in the community, so Gamblers Anonymous, Bettors Anonymous, Smart Recovery.
Those are some avenues.
Those are some avenues. Somebody could also seek professional treatment in one of the DPH, Department of Public Health, outpatient treatment centers. We also have private practice clinicians who have the MAPGS certificate.
Explain what that is.
So the MAPGS certificate is an institute that we run at the council to train clinicians to better provide treatment to people who have problems with gambling.
Okay, but if they wanted to seek treatment on their own, how would they go about doing it if they didn't want to go through your organizations?
So that they could look online. We have a website, and it's up to date. It has all of the local Gamblers Anonymous, the GA meetings that they could find in their area, and they could also find a list of practitioners who are DPH, with a DPH, and if they have Mass Health, they would be able to seek those services for free. The private practitioners may charge. So, depending on their status,
their health insurance.
Their health insurance, yeah.
Okay. Krystle.
Hi,
welcome. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this organization and what you do in the organization?
Sure, thanks. So my name is Krystle Kelly. I'm the Director of Development and Communications for the Mass Council. I've been there about 1.5 years now. And I came from a homelessness and low-income housing organization previously. And so pretty much I saw a real connection between the people that we're serving in those areas and then also people who are at risk of gambling disorders and other substance abuse disorders. And so there's a real connection, I think, between kind of the work that I've been doing in the past and what I'm doing now. Also lots of low-income veterans and active duty military in that venue. And so I feel like, so what drew me to this work was kind of continuing that help. And I love what the Mass Council does. I love trying to keep gambling fun for people that it doesn't affect in a negative way, and then helping the family members and loved ones and people struggling with their own gambling. And I think what's best to know is that that can happen at any time. And it can be totally normal for the majority of your life and then become out of control for various reasons.
So there's no particular age?
No, there are some ages where it can happen more frequently for certain demographics. So for women, it's usually older women, late 50s to 60s. And for women, it can come on very quickly and strongly. So you could never have a problem with gambling, and then in 1 year, you could have a totally different lifestyle. You could be gambling 4 or 5 times a week, leaving work, driving overnight, staying overnight, driving back to work the next morning. And it's like that for many people. So it could be something that's never been an issue before and becomes an issue quite quickly.
So really, the veteran population within our community in the town of North Attleborough could be susceptible to establishing, possibly getting into gambling,
right?
Because of their disabilities, limited ability to get out, and then of course our widows.
Exactly,
too.
And that's a huge population that is at risk. I think that we hear often from our helpline calls that people, certainly the widowed population or people struggling with a disability, are housebound a lot. And they're not in the public as much as they used to be, so they're socializing a lot less with people. And so there's now internet gambling, and ways to scratch tickets are everywhere. And sometimes you just are having a really rough time. And especially if you've lost your partner and your lifelong partner has passed on, maybe you find comfort in the casinos or at a slot machine a lot more often. And it doesn't have to stay that way. It can change, and it has changed for a lot of people if you just reach out for help.
We have a wisdom exchange with the council, and it does share positive stories of people who have overcome significant barriers in their life related to problem gambling and lead successful and healthy lives now.
Oh, wow. So, can you give us some examples of some activities that maybe a person could do other than gambling if they're looking to kind of seek treatment and then look for other activities?
Yeah, I think anything is a good activity, but I'm a big dork in that way. But I think that I think being social is really important especially for housebound populations. So getting out and trying to do things at even veterans clubs. I think going to cooking lessons, or going out with your friends for dinner, or swimming, the beach, going for a hike. A lot of physical activity is usually really good for people experiencing even substance abuse issues. But if that's not your cup of tea, there are other things you can do too.
Getting involved with the community.
Getting involved with the community, staying active and finding support if you are in recovery. It's so important to find a population and other people like you so that you can support one another and help with activities that you find enjoyable as opposed to gambling.
Now, are there support groups that folks can be able to locate?
There are.
There's support groups for those who are in recovery, so that would be Gamblers Anonymous, Betters Anonymous, and then the Smart Recovery. And for family members, there's Gam-Anon. So similar to Al-Anon or Narc-Anon, this group supports family members as they're going through tough times, because it's not just the problem gambler who bears the weight of what has happened from problem gambling. Oftentimes family members too feel depressed and reap the financial negative effects of problem gambling.
And there's, I want to say a lot, it doesn't even just have to be a family member. It could be a really close friend, a boyfriend, girlfriend,
a neighbor.
Yeah. But really you do affect, they say there's a statistic that says a problem gambler can affect on average 10 people around their life. So that could be kids, that could be community groups, neighbors, your coworkers. Everybody gets affected by addiction issues. So anyone can go to a Gam-Anon meeting, and anyone can call the helpline as well. And something that also came up for me is meditation and yoga have been very successful with treating especially veterans and active military folks. And it's very helpful for PTSD, which can sometimes also lead to gambling problems.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure
something
folks
to
at
look
home
into.
would, those are helpful tips for them. So you mentioned a couple of resources that are available. Is there any other resources that you partner with? I mean, obviously you partner with the veterans agent within the
Right.
town. Can you name a little bit of other organizations you might partner with? Because obviously gambling may not be the main problem. There might be other things, especially you said
Right.
PTSD or physical disabilities. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So we cover the state. So especially Amanda, she's everywhere. So she attends a lot of local community groups and meetings. We work with the Department of Public Health often. We're contracted with them. So, but we also work with Bedford Veterans Administration, the hospital specifically, and then also a lot of people that work there. That's specific to veterans issues. I can't think of anything else other than that. But we work in schools, we work in older folks' communities. We try to really educate on the issues and try to help people identify when an issue is becoming an issue or when it's just entertainment and fun.
Gambling isn't something that just affects people financially. It can affect your relationships as well. So some people may have more money that they could lose at the casino than others, but if it's affecting their family or their job because they're not attending to those important necessities in life, then it's a problem there. So when we go out into the community, we seek to educate people to realize the signs of problem gambling and how to equip themselves with the knowledge and the power to either help their loved one or help themselves. So we work in a lot of different community organizations to train people who work directly and provide direct services.
We also really advocate at the legislative level. So,
Oh, really?
Yes, and we are actually, our boss, Marlene Warner, the executive director of the organization, has been working with Senator Elizabeth Warren to also pass some legislation around casino gaming on active military bases.
Yes.
Which has been a concern.
Is there, as we're wrapping it up, is there anything that you would like to add that you haven't already talked about? What's the website and they will be able to access this information on?
Sure, so our website is masscompulsivegambling.org, and on our website you'll find a variety of tools and helpful resources along with our helpline number. And if you don't want to use the phone, I know a lot of people don't like to use the phone nowadays, we have a chat feature, so somebody could chat with one of the helpline specialists, again 24/7, to try to access the type of help they need or the resources that they would like.
And it's all confidential, so you don't have to be concerned that anybody will find out or that will report back to your family members. It's confidential and we can't share any of that information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on board and educating our community about gambling. I appreciate it. So I want to thank you for tuning in to Veterans Forum. Look forward to next episode in which we'll have another organization that we're going to highlight. One of the things that we're looking to do out of the Veterans Office is we're going to be celebrating the Army's birthday, and that is actually going to be June 14th, and it's going to be at the Town Hall from 4 to 5. So the veterans, you're all welcome. Particularly those that are Army widows and their families too. We're going to have cake and coffee. Thank you so much and have a good day.